Okay, well, we'll just go ahead and get started here, and I'm going to go through the presentation, and if anybody joins on, or Kayla or Aaron, if you have any questions, just feel free to unmute yourself and speak up. First, I'm going to introduce myself and my business and let you know how the TANA Group became a successful in the employee benefits market. Experience at the TANA Group spans over 10 years. My specific experience has been in the employee relations and human resources field. I'm licensed in life, accident, and health insurance, and I've been an insurance broker since 2017, where I focused on small business implementation and administration. I have a HIPAA certification, self-funding certification, and have been certified in processing in-house payroll via a fundamental payroll certification. At the TANA Group, we're continually committed to the local community and are affiliated with the Chamber of Commerce and the Lions Club. And on a national level, I'm a member of the National Association of Women Business Owners and the Dallas Association of Health Underwriters. Okay, it's time to dig in. As I go through the steps and the slides, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself or ask any questions that you think of as we're going through the slides. I see your message, Kayla, that says you can't hear me, so I'll just keep an eye on the chat and feel free to type any questions in as we go through the slides. Step one is simple. First is gather data. The employee census holds all the eligible employee data needed to create a benefits program. What is a census? Well, it's simply a list of eligible employees and dependents to include data listed in this slide. It's important to make sure that you have as much dependent data as possible for the census. I understand that some businesses may not have access to all of this data, but if we can at least get the employee information, it'll give us a start to making sure that we have the most inclusive data possible. Let's talk about what an eligible employee is regarding medical insurance. The Affordable Care Act says that an eligible employee is an employee who's worked for your business an average of 30 hours per week on a regular basis. Some companies have different guidelines for what a full-time or a part-time worker represents. So it's important that we understand that for the Affordable Care Act and employee benefits purposes, that we are looking at the 30-hour work week average. You can see on the bottom of this slide that I made a special note about the importance of census accuracy. Whenever we submit the census to the carriers for the first time, they use that data to create the initial quote. If we have proper eligible employee and dependent information, the initial quote is going to be more accurate. Because if there is more than a 10% variance from the initial census and the final enrollment, insurance carriers reserve the right to requote the group using the finalized data. And this is a very common piece whenever we are implementing a group that has never had a benefits program before. Outside of the census, gathering data can look like many different things. Using a professional insurance broker like the TANA Group provides you market knowledge and trend expectations, and we can also provide you with a benchmark report that helps you compare the benefits offerings against other businesses that are similar in size and location. This gives you the opportunity to be able to create a benefits plan that is competitive for your employee population to help you attract and retain your employees. Finally, the employer information that is needed for the initial quote includes your legal business name, headquarter address, the SIC code, and tax ID. We also want to consider the effective date that you would like to reach. And the effective date is the desired start date of the plan. Does anybody have any questions about the information that is needed to get the ball rolling on creating your benefits program? Okay, well, it's question time. And I am just going to kind of talk through the questions since Kayla is on the phone. So the purpose, I wanted to ask, what is the main reason that we have the census and the accurate data from the beginning? And that's just to reiterate the importance of the 10% variance. We want to make sure that the carrier doesn't go through and re-rate the quote because half the employees aren't eligible or the dependents are all wrong. Okay, everybody. So we have gotten all of our data, and now it's time for us to decide which carriers we want to send the information to create our initial proposals. This is such an exciting piece of the puzzle for creating your benefits program, and it's imperative that you speak with a professional to make sure that you're getting plans that are appropriate for your business and for your market. Now, I don't know about you, but I love donuts, and there are so many options to choose from whenever you go to a donut shop. Just like donuts, there's many kinds of employee benefits. The most popular employee benefit is medical insurance. I'll just call that the glazed donut. Outside of medical insurance, there are insurances like dental, vision, short and long-term disability, life, and even discount programs. I mentioned this in the previous slide, but I want to touch base on effective dates once again. Most effective dates are January 1st, and that just makes it easy for employers to follow a calendar year and follow the same cycle as the deductible. The deductible in medical insurance is what the patient has to pay before his insurance really starts to kick in and pay co-pays and percentage values. They generally run on a calendar year basis, but if your employer runs financials on a fiscal year or your business is busy in the fourth quarter, you can pick a plan year that is beneficial for your business. I have clients that have effective dates in every month of the year. Another benefit offering consideration is how robust you want your benefits offering to be. Do you want a basic medical plan or a robust package with all the bells and whistles? That should be considered on behalf of your company and on your employees' affordability and retention efforts. I suggest starting small and growing as you progress your business and your employee population. Okay, question time. This one's going to be a little bit harder than the last one because I haven't already given you the answer. Does anyone know the minimum employer contribution for the medical insurance? This is an ACA required contribution amount. Does anybody have an idea? Okay, I'll give you the answer. The answer is 50% of the employee premium for the lowest tiered offering. That means that the employer must contribute at least 50% of the premium for the employee-only plan on the lowest level of medical insurance that you're offering your group. All carriers will allow you to create multiple plan options for your employees. So you can offer a base plan and meet the 50% requirement, and then give the employees an opportunity to buy up with a little bit more out-of-pocket expense. Okay, everybody, we've made it to step 3, and step 3 takes quite a bit of time and entails a few mini steps. This is where we shop, analyze, and decide on the benefit options that we're going to offer our employees. Here, we submit the request for proposal to the carriers and get the rates back for review. Some carriers can take about a week to respond, but other carriers take less than a day. Once we get all the rates back from carriers, we consolidate that info and schedule a meeting to discuss options with you. The TANA group will provide a recommendation to you and answer any questions you have about the plans. And together we'll decide on the carriers and inform them appropriately. The carrier will then begin the employer application process. One important thing to mention is that whenever we implement a new benefits program, regardless of carrier, they're going to ask you for a binder check. When I was in HR, I remember the first time I got notification that my carrier required a binder check, and I freaked out because I didn't know what I was doing. Luckily, I had a broker that was able to walk me through the process. A binder check is your first month's premium estimate paid upfront to the carrier. The carrier makes you do this to cover the administration costs for implementing your program. But don't worry, the TANA group is here to help you through the process and will help you analyze the solutions, decide on the plan, and complete all of the carrier requirements. This portion usually takes a week or two, depending on your workload and the carrier response times for your initial quotes. Some employers take a little bit longer to decide on plan designs than others, so I like to set aside about 2 weeks. All right, everybody, we're still in step 3, and that's analyze, compare, and decide on benefits. As we're analyzing, I wanted to go through a couple of the slides to help set your expectations on what we're actually considering. I'm going to focus on the medical plans, but understand there are similar considerations for all different types of coverage, from dental, vision, disability, life, and beyond. Major considerations in the world of medical are networks, plan types, and funding types. Listed in this chart, you can see there are 4 different network types, and it explains the main features of each network, from the most expensive and robust network of doctors, the PPO, and then the least expensive and most restrictive, the HMO. The next consideration we need to think about is if we want to have a typical copay plan or if we want to have a high deductible health plan that can be paired with an HSA. For those of you who are not familiar with the Health Savings Account or HSA, it's a way for employees to set aside pre-tax funds that can be used for healthcare eligible expenses. Amounts in the HSA can be accumulated over the years and distributed on a tax-free basis to pay for or reimburse qualified medical expenses. HSAs are designed to provide federal tax benefits, such as tax-free contributions, tax-free interest on those contribution earnings, and any amounts that are distributed from an HSA for qualified medical expenses are also tax-free. This account is owned by the employee, but is sometimes managed by the employer via payroll deposits or payroll administrators on a group level. Enough about plan designs, though. Let's talk about funding options. I would say that the majority of employers are familiar with the fully insured model. The fully insured model is where you pay your premiums monthly, and the insurance provider sends you a bill and pays all of your claims. Typically, excuse me, I messed up on my slide there. Typically, the carrier will make you have a renewal, and increase that renewal every year, whenever you're in the level funded plans. They do that just to cover the cost of administration throughout the year. Okay, now, if you're not into the fully insured model, there is an option called level funding. Level funding is a way for you, the employer, to pay your premiums like the fully insured model, but the carrier splits those premiums into 4 separate buckets. You can see the 4 buckets listed on the slide. First is the administration expense bucket, notated in blue in this column. That is simply the dollars that are going to pay to administer the plan. That's it. Then there's the stop loss premium, notated here in green. The stop loss premium is protective coverage for large claims. The insurance carrier takes that out on behalf of any large claimants. Third is the orange claims bucket. And that is simply self-explanatory. They put money into this bucket to help you pay for expected or common medical claims. If at the end of the plan year, that claims bucket has an overage, you as the employer have the potential to receive some of that money back as a refund or a credit to your renewal, as long as you stay with that same carrier. So, does anybody have any questions about networks or plan designs or the basics of funding? Okie dokie. So deciding on which funding type is best is really depends on you as the business owner. We'll review each type of funding option and any additional requirements in the next 2 slides. If you decide to move forward with a level funding option, individual medical questionnaires will be required of your dependents and employees. These questionnaires consist of general medical questions and demographic information. It's just questions like, do you have high blood pressure or heart trouble, history of cancer, or any red flags from the insurer's point of view. This gives the carrier a better idea of risk in order to properly underwrite your group. The carrier will re-rate your group according to the medical questionnaires upon your final enrollment. Another requirement is employee participation. We mentioned this in a previous slide for contribution amounts, but not for the employee's participation on the population of your group. So most carriers require at least a 50% employee population, including waivers for level funded plans. A waiver is when an employee does not need the group insurance because they have insurance elsewhere. So the carrier will just take out the waivers, and then whatever group is left, they'll make sure 50% of those employees enroll in the plan. Great question in the chat. What do you do with employees who are over 65? Employees who are over 65 are still welcome to be on a group benefits plan, but some advisors and employers will consult with that person to weigh the balance of the employer plan versus getting on Medicare or Medicare supplement plan. But as a group benefit, the employee is allowed to be on either of their choice. So another good note to carry is that on the level funded options, many of the carriers will allow a 15-month rate guarantee. That could be really helpful for your business if you need to strategically change your benefit effective dates or want to get into a less busy time of year to do your employee benefits renewals. Usually the level funded plan will offer a really robust wellness program as well. The idea in this is that wellness program will help employees make better choices and have lower health claims, therefore giving you more money back in that claims bucket renewal. Some information that is required by the Affordable Care Act is the 1094 and 1095 filings. These are reports that are required to file with the government and supply to your employees, proving that you offered affordable insurance to your participants throughout the previous year. Along with these requirements, there's a PCORI fee. The PCORI, P-C-O-R-I, stands for Patient Centered Outcome Research Institute. That's why they shortened it. It's a fee on issuers of level and self-funded plans that helps to fund the research institute's clinical research and research findings in medical studies. And then finally, because the TANA group believes in commission transparency, I want to disclose that these level funded options have a broker commission of a negotiable $30 per employee per month. Notice I said negotiable. So if you are working with another agent, it's important that you ask them to disclose commission rates and make sure that you're not getting taken advantage of there. Okay, just like the level funded option, there are also things to consider in the fully insured world, although not as detailed. The fully insured proposal, I have to say, is considered an initial proposal. And the final enrollment rates are based on the employee and dependent participation. Remember, we talked about the employee population and the waivers in the previous slides. For fully insured plans, carriers are generally going to require 75% of eligible employees to participate and to keep the initial rates from the initial quote. This will exclude the valid waivers though. So if you have an employee who is on someone else's health plan currently, the quoting carrier will still count them as an eligible participant, meaning you have to have the full 75% population of your group. And then finally, I want to let you know on the commission structures, these can vary by group size in the fully insured world. For groups that are over 50 employees, it's a negotiable $30 per employee per month. And for groups that are under 50 employees, it's a flat, non-negotiated commission of 4.25% of the premium dollars. That is a requirement for the Affordable Care Act. Okay, so we've talked about level funded and fully insured in a little bit more detail. Before we switch into compliance, does anybody have any additional questions for either of those funding types? Okay, compliance, my favorite subject. For the people that are on this call, it could be your favorite subjects as well. We are in the final section of step 3, and that's compliance. And whenever I receive and gather a quote for a prospect, I'm going to create a compliance section to the presentation every single time. If you're offering an HSA for your high deductible health plan, you'll need an HSA bank to help administer those funds. I'll also recommend adding a flexible spending account to your copay plans as an option for your employees who are in not high deductible health plan eligible. The flexible spending account is a way to put tax-free savings into an account that employees can use for eligible medical expenses. However, this account is owned by the employer, and the employee does forfeit any unspent funds at the end of the plan year. If you have more than 20 employees, I'd recommend that you set up a COBRA administrator. COBRA provides for continued group health insurance coverage for eligible employees and their families after a job loss or other qualifying event. And finally, the ERISA and POP documents. So these documents, they describe the plan's terms and conditions in legal form related to the operation and administration of the plan. It's required for each welfare benefit plan an employer maintains, and it has to be in writing. So this is a requirement by the DOL, Department of Labor, and I have found that of my clients who have been audited by the DOL, every single one of them say, man, I'm sure I'm glad I had my ERISA and POP documents, because the fines that go along with not having compliant legal forms is, I think it's like $2,000 per month or something that you don't have the form handy. So it's just silly to not be in compliance on that point of view. So anyway, back to the slides. These slides show 2 different companies for these services quotes. You can pick and choose between any of the options available and use different carriers for any of these plans. But the administrator for these plans will charge you per month or per employee based on the services that you request. The administrator manages these accounts and makes sure everything complies with the Department of Labor requirements, taking that burden off of you as the employer. So this will kind of give you this. Most of these are either annual or one-time expenses. Whew, we've made it out of step 3. And the rest of the slides go much faster. There's just so much that we need to consider before we showcase our plans to our employees. So here we are in step 4, and it is my favorite and the most fun part of implementing a benefits program. Step 4 is where we educate and enroll our employees into the benefits. We've gone through all this hard work to get to this point, and now it's time to just showcase our employees via open enrollment period, benefit meetings, and having the employees complete their applications for the benefits that they do elect. Open enrollment meetings are the best way to educate your employees for their new benefit options. And I recommend having at least one live meeting for the employees to be able to learn and have their questions answered. Some employers do web and some do one-on-one or group meetings. It's really at the discretion of your company and the timing allowed for open enrollment. Depending on timing, the open enrollment period can last a week or a month. It's my experience that if we give a week or 2 weeks, it allows the employees enough time to consider their options and complete the necessary paperwork without having to put it on the back burner. Typically, an employee will know exactly what they want to sign up for, like the day they get their benefits program, and then they just put it in the back of their mind and forget about it, and we have to follow up with them. I also must mention that every eligible employee has to complete an application during the open enrollment period, even if it's a waiver, because that's what verifies the census data for the final submission to the carrier. After we've completed our open enrollment period and our employees have submitted all of their applications, it's time for us to submit to the carriers. The carriers prefer that everything be submitted at one time so we turn in the employer application, the employee applications, along with that binder payment. The carriers request about 2 weeks of lead time to process this paperwork and applications. At that point, they'll send out ID cards and supply access to employee portals and have all of the information uploaded in their system ready for processing and claiming. See, I told you we were going to go fast through these other steps. We're already at step 6, and that is to update the financial process for your company records. This means setting up employees' payroll deductions, making sure that your carrier payments are processed properly, and if you're doing any sort of employee matching for an HSA or sharing dues for employee premiums, you may need to set up some internal general ledger items. Every employer manages their records differently, but the TANA group is here to help consult and assist if you have any questions. Remember at the beginning, I said that I was certified in payroll. So all of this is pretty common and regular for new businesses to have consulting on. That's it. Once we've gone live, all there is to do is pay attention to the ongoing administration for your benefits plan. Changes such as adding new hires or terminating employees, updating qualified life events, and even completing benefits audits are all regular parts of the employee benefits administration. The TANA group is willing to assist in all areas of the administration process because it's our goal to be an extension to your company and to help administrate any changes that come along so that you can focus on growing your own business. Many of the clients that we work with allow us access to the HR platforms and employee onboarding processes in order to educate the employees about the benefits programs. Most of my clients will send me an email that says, hey, Nikki, we just hired John on January 5th. Reach out to him whenever he's eligible so he can go through the onboarding. And that's what I do. I set up a calendar reminder and just reach out to the employees directly. If you are changing carriers, the time that will inform the carrier of your change is back whenever we're in step 3, where we're deciding on which plans are best for our employees. So we'll inform our carriers, and then we'll complete the new applications and whatnot for the new plan. Still same process though. At the TANA Group, we offer a full spectrum of solutions based on group size and employee needs. And like I said before, it's our goal to be an extension to your business and to make sure that you're comfortable with your employee benefits program. And we want to be able to grow with you and help your business be successful. That concludes my presentation. I'm going to take just a minute to pause and see if anybody has any additional questions or comments that you'd like to add. And I'll also stay on the line until everybody has left the meeting, should you want to have an offline conversation. Thank you for your time, and I hope to reach out to you and be able to share slides or have one-on-one conversations. Any questions? Perfect question. For a business just setting up their benefits, what's a rough estimate of the total timeline on average? I like to allow about 6 weeks for the full cycle of from quote, initial meeting to implementation and ongoing support. This is a estimation, I say, because it really does depend on the involvement of the decision makers on the employee group side. Sometimes business owners get their initial quote in and take a little bit of time to make their decision or decide whether or not they're even going to implement the program. But I'd say a safe bet's 6 weeks. And if you're in a crunch time, as little as a week for small businesses under 50 employees. I thank you guys for all of your support and your time, and I'll reach out to you, like I said, one-on-one, but if there's anything that happens in the meantime, I hope that you'll feel free to reach out to me. You guys have a great day.